नमस्कार मुलांनो, मी वर्षा गवई. आज आपण बायोलॉजीचं दुसरा लेक्चर बघूयात, फोटोसिंथेसिस म्हणजेच प्रकाश संश्लेषण. We know that all the organisms carry various life processes, and because of these life processes, organisms grow, develop and attain the maturity. After that, they reproduce. At the end of their lifespan, they die. Various life processes you must be knowing, that is digestion, respiration, transpiration in plants. Likewise, photosynthesis is one of these life processes which is observed exclusively in plants. Plants, that means the organisms which possess chlorophyll. Chlorophyll molecule is the pigment. It is a pigment molecule. So what we are going to study today in photosynthesis? Mainly we are going to emphasize on two topics, that is importance of photosynthesis and process of photosynthesis. Why does this photosynthesis takes place in plants? What is the importance of this life process for plants and for the other organisms on the earth? Then what exactly happens during this photosynthesis? What is consumed by the plants and what are the products for this process? Let's now begin with this photosynthesis. First of all, what is a photosynthesis? What is its definition? Scientists define it as photosynthesis is the physiological process in which plants prepare their food in the form of carbohydrates and oxygen with the help of sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. So let us understand this definition. This looks much technical, but definition, if you will understand it, it is very much simple. Photosynthesis is a physiological process. Physiological process means it is a life process which helps in various metabolic activities or which carries out metabolic activities in the organism. So it is a physiological process in which plants, because we have already seen that photosynthesis is exclusively related with the plants. So now here we will specify it that it is a physiological process in plants which prepare the food. By this process, the food is prepared for the plants, and what is the form of this food? In which form the food is prepared? That is the carbohydrates, that is glucose, and oxygen in gaseous form is released. How this carbohydrates and oxygen is prepared? It is prepared with the help of sunlight, carbon dioxide, that is gaseous from the air, atmosphere, and the water. You know that plants require water. Each organism requires water. You feel thirsty, also you water the plants. So whenever you water the plants, whenever you apply water to the plants, this water is absorbed from the soil in the plant tissues with the help of xylem. And from this xylem, the water reaches to the photosynthesis site, and then this water is used. Carbon dioxide, the atmospheric carbon dioxide is absorbed by the leaves of the plants and the sunlight which is available during the daytime in all the parts of the earth. So the raw material for the photosynthesis is the sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. With the help of these raw materials, the products, that is carbohydrates and oxygen, are produced in the process of photosynthesis. So what does the definition say? The photosynthesis is the physiological process in which plants prepare their food in the form of carbohydrates and oxygen with the help of sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. Here you will notice that sunlight is the important material which is used by the plants during photosynthesis. There is no other physiological process available on the earth or available in the life on the earth which utilizes this sunlight to produce any product. So plants are only capable organisms on the earth which can use this sunlight and prepare their food. So let us now arrange this definition in the form of equation. What we have said that sunlight, carbon dioxide and water are used. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of H2O, that is water, are used by chlorophyll, and the sunlight is also used along with this, and the reaction takes place between carbon dioxide, water molecule and sunlight in chlorophyll to give C6H12O6, that is glucose. And what are the byproducts? Molecular oxygen or the gaseous oxygen is released and water molecules are produced. So overall, what is the reaction of the photosynthesis? 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 12 water molecules and sunlight together they react with each other in chlorophyll to produce glucose, that is C6H12O6. 6 molecules of oxygen are released and 6 molecules of water are also produced. So this is the balanced reaction for the photosynthesis process. Let us now proceed with how the plants prepare their food or how the plants carry out their photosynthesis. You water the plants. So water is available for the plants through soil. Carbon dioxide is available from the atmosphere, and during daytime there is plenty of sunlight. So water is absorbed by the plants through xylem. It reaches up to the leaves or to the photosynthesis site. Carbon dioxide is absorbed from the atmosphere by the green parts of the plants. Sunlight, that is light waves from the sun, are absorbed by the plants, and the reaction takes place in the green plant parts of the plant and the food is prepared. And how we do say that plant has produced the food? The plants produce fruits. The fruits are nothing but the stored food material for the plants. Fruits have mainly the stored food material in the form of sucrose or starch. That's why they are sweet in taste. So what is a site for photosynthesis? These are leaves. Mainly the plant parts which are green in color are mostly the leaves. In case of cactus or in case of xerophytes, the leaves are totally absent or they are present only in the form of scales. In such cases, the stem is of green color, that is chlorophyll pigment is present in stems. So such exceptions or such rare cases are there, but generally we say that leaves are the site for the photosynthesis. Now let us observe this cross section or the transverse section of the leaf. What do you observe there? Look at this diagram. Do you observe some small particles, green colored particles in each cell? These are nothing but the chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are the site for the photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are one of the cell organelles of the plant cell. Let us now explore this case of leaf, transverse section of leaf. The outermost layer is the cuticle. This gives protection to the leaves from excessive water evaporation. Then the next layer is the epidermis. Below that is the leaf palisade tissue and the spongy tissue. The chlorophyll or chloroplast molecules are present in these palisade tissue and the spongy tissue. That's why you can see here the green pigmented plastids are present. This is the vein part or the midrib part of the leaf. Below you can see some openings are there on the lower side of the leaf. These are called as stomata. These stomatas are the external openings of the leaf which provide gaseous exchange. That is, gaseous exchange takes place through these openings. We have said that carbon dioxide is directly absorbed by the leaves for photosynthesis. So this carbon dioxide enters into the leaves through this stomata, and whatever the oxygen is produced, that is released through the stomata. So these are the openings in the lower part or the lower surface of the leaf. In the case of leaf, you can see here the green particular structure is present. If you magnify them, you will see that these are the chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are the chlorophyll containing green colored pigments which help in photosynthesis. How is the structure of chloroplasts? Chloroplasts are generally spherical in shape or maybe elliptical in shape, and they have fluid filled stroma inside. chloroplast is filled with the fluid and the cavity is called as stroma. In the stroma, certain membrane structure is present which is called thylakoid membrane. Like in the cell, the membrane system is called as endoplasmic reticulum. Likewise, in chloroplast also there is a membrane system which is called as thylakoid membrane. This thylakoid membrane is present in the stacks, that is one above other, like stack of coins. When such arrangement is present, this stack is called as granum and plural grana. So grana or granum is nothing but the stacked thylakoid membrane, and inside this membrane chlorophyll molecules are present or chlorophyll pigments are present which carry out photosynthesis. So what is the site for photosynthesis? It is photosynthesis takes place in leaves. In the leaves, in palisade and spongy tissues, the chloroplasts are present. In chloroplast, the cavity is called as stroma, which is fluid filled, and the thylakoid membrane structure, which is stacked one above other like coins, it is called as grana. And this granum has the chlorophyll pigment molecules in them which carry out the photosynthesis. So here we have seen what is the site for photosynthesis. Next, what are the factors affecting photosynthesis? Photosynthesis rate varies depending upon various factors. Which are these factors? First one, light. Light intensity does matter during a rate of the photosynthesis. If the light intensity is more than the optimum light intensity, the photosynthesis rate declines because the pigments get burned out due to high light intensity. And in the low intensity light, where the energy is less and not enough to carry out the photosynthesis reaction, that intensity is also not helpful or capable of doing photosynthesis. So optimum light intensity, that is the daylight which is provided by the sun, is the optimum light intensity which carries out the photosynthesis. Then the color of light. Which color of light gives maximum rate of photosynthesis? Various colors give various rates of photosynthesis. Generally, plants absorb visible range of the light, that is 400 nanometer to 700 nanometers range. You know that visible light has 7 colors, that is violet, ivory, blue, yellow, orange and red. Out of these, the chlorophyll pigment has maximum absorption capacity for red and blue light. That is, when red and blue light will be present, the rate of photosynthesis will be maximum. And the pigments are of green color. The leaves are of green color. That means the green colored light is not absorbed by the plants. That is, in green colors, the photosynthesis rate will be minimum or there will not be any photosynthesis. Then the wavelength of light, that is wavelength and the color of the light are interdependent with each other. You know that 400 nanometers means it is nearby blue or violet color, whereas if you will go to the 700 nanometers and beyond that it will be in the range of red color. So in the visible range, that is between 400 to 700 nanometers, the rate of photosynthesis is optimum, and in that also in the red and blue light the photosynthesis is optimum. In green light there will not be any photosynthesis. Then the next factor is carbon dioxide concentration. If the carbon dioxide concentration exceeds beyond certain limit, the plant cannot carry out photosynthesis and all the system carrying out the photosynthesis process shuts down. All the molecules which are involved in the photosynthesis, they do not work but they inhibit the process of photosynthesis. And if the carbon dioxide concentration is below the optimum level, it is not capable to trigger or to enhance the photosynthesis reaction or to carry out the photosynthesis reaction. So the optimum carbon dioxide concentration is also required. In the highly polluted areas, the plant growth rate retards. That is, in the polluted areas, plants cannot grow like in the natural or the healthy unpolluted areas. This is because in the polluted areas, carbon dioxide concentration is much more. Next factor is the temperature. Optimum temperature for photosynthesis is 35 degrees centigrade, but rate of photosynthesis can be observed in 25 degrees centigrade to 45 degrees centigrade. If the temperature falls below 25 degrees centigrade, the rate of photosynthesis declines drastically, and beyond the 45 degrees temperature, the rate of photosynthesis also declines because at the high temperature, the plant pigments, they get burnt out or they get dehydrated and plants cannot carry out photosynthesis. That's why all the plants cannot grow in the higher altitude regions or in the deserts. That's why plants require certain adaptations to grow and to photosynthesize in deserts as well as in the higher altitude regions. So generally, the plants photosynthesize with the maximum rate at the 35 degrees centigrade temperature. Water availability. If water is not available, plants cannot photosynthesize because water is one of the raw materials or one of the requirements for the photosynthesis. This water is made available to the plants through roots or through the soil. Whatever water is present in the liquid form, that water can only be absorbed by the roots and can be transported to the leaves by xylem tissue. In higher altitude areas, the water is present in the form of ice, that is in the form of solid. Plants cannot absorb this ice through the roots, and such ice form of water is unavailable form of the water. In deserts also, the water is less available or scarcity of water is there. In such cases also, plants require either certain adaptations for the photosynthesis or they will not photosynthesize in the extreme conditions where water is not available. Chlorophyll is the pigment which carries out the photosynthesis. We have seen that site of photosynthesis is the chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is of prime importance for the photosynthesis. But there are certain other pigments also present along with the chlorophyll. For example, carotenoids. Such pigments are brown or yellow in color. Anthocyanin pigments. These pigments are red or purple in color. You must have observed some leaves which are of purple color. Some leaves are yellow in color. Some leaves are varied in color, that is some part is green, some part is yellow. Why such different colors are there in the leaves? Because of presence of such accessory pigments. These accessory pigments also carry out photosynthesis, but their rate of photosynthesis is much lower than that of chlorophyll. So, chlorophyll is important pigment for the photosynthesis. There are certain types of chlorophyll, that is chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Out of these two types of chlorophyll pigments, chlorophyll A is universally present, that is present in all the plants including marine plants, land plants, terrestrial plants including shrubs, trees, etc. Whereas chlorophyll B may be present in plants or may not be. So among chlorophyll also, the chlorophyll A is of great importance for the photosynthesis, and along with the chlorophyll, accessory pigments like carotenoids, anthocyanins, they carry out photosynthesis. Next factor which affects the photosynthesis is accumulation of products. What are the products of photosynthesis? These are glucose, oxygen and water. Water is used for the photosynthesis and it is also produced by the photosynthesis. So we will keep it aside. Let's concentrate on glucose and oxygen. If glucose is sufficiently present in the leaves, that means plants have sufficient storage for the food. In that case, rate of photosynthesis will decline. If oxygen is present in sufficient concentration in atmosphere and if glucose is present in the plant, stored in the leaves or in the fruits or any other storage organ, in that case also the rate of photosynthesis is less or decreased. If the plants do not have any stored food material in the form of fruits or any other storage organ, and there is a plenty of carbon dioxide available in the atmosphere, in that case the rate of photosynthesis will increase. Potassium as a cofactor. We will see in the next part of this lecture that how photosynthesis takes place. For all these reactions which are involved in the photosynthesis, they require potassium as a cofactor. Because you know all the metabolic processes which are carried out in organisms, they are helped by enzymes, and these enzymes require cofactors. For the enzymes which are involved in the photosynthesis process, the potassium is important cofactor. So if the potassium is not available for the plants, the rate of photosynthesis will either decline or the photosynthesis will not at all take place. The next factor which affects the rate of photosynthesis is the age of the leaf. We know that leaf is the main site of photosynthesis. The age of this leaf matters. If the leaf is young, the rate of photosynthesis will be more, and this rate of photosynthesis will go on increasing up to leaf maturity. So rate of photosynthesis is quite high during the developing leaf or during the leaf growth. When the leaf attains the maturity or when the leaf is completely grown, in that case the rate of photosynthesis will remain constant, or after a certain period the rate of photosynthesis may decline, and at the end the leaf will fall. This is called senescence of leaf. So in the leaf senescence the rate of photosynthesis decreases, and in the growing leaf the rate of photosynthesis is increasing. Let us now proceed with importance of photosynthesis. We have seen where the photosynthesis takes place in plants, that is a site for photosynthesis, that is chloroplast. Then we have seen various factors which affect the photosynthesis, and now let us see what is the importance of photosynthesis. First of all, balance of carbon dioxide in nature. We have seen that carbon dioxide is used by the leaves to produce glucose during photosynthesis. And where else carbon dioxide comes in the picture, in which other process? That is respiration. In respiration, all the organisms inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. During respiration, carbon dioxide concentration increases in the air. During respiration, carbon dioxide is produced and oxygen is used. So to balance this carbon dioxide and oxygen concentration in the air, photosynthesis helps. Photosynthesis produces oxygen and uses carbon dioxide. Thus, this photosynthesis reaction is opposite to that of respiration. In respiration, we utilize oxygen and release carbon dioxide. In photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is used and oxygen is released. So it gives balance. So it balances the carbon dioxide in nature or in the air. Next importance of the photosynthesis is it converts the natural energy source, that is sunlight, into a usable form. Generally, all the organisms on the earth can use the energy only in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. All the organisms require energy only in the form of adenosine triphosphate. How is this molecule produced? This molecule is produced by the photosynthesis reaction. In this photosynthesis reaction, when the sunlight is used, this sunlight has the energy, the light energy, that is converted into chemical energy, that is ATP molecule. On earth, the photosynthesis is the only process which can convert this light energy into usable form, that is chemical energy, that is in the ATP form. We have seen that one of the products of photosynthesis is the oxygen, and oxygen is required by all the living organisms for respiration. In the first point we have said that during respiration carbon dioxide is released and oxygen is inhaled. Therefore, to make available this oxygen, plants play important role. Plants produce oxygen and utilize carbon dioxide. Thus, they restore the oxygen which was used or respired by the other living organisms. Another importance of the photosynthesis is it is a source of food. We have seen that in photosynthesis reaction, glucose is produced, and this glucose is the main source of food for all the life on the earth. Glucose is nothing but the carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are rich energy source for all the living organisms, including plants, herbivores, omnivores, carnivores. All the organisms require food in the form of carbohydrates. Thus, plants by carrying out photosynthesis produce food in the form of carbohydrates. These are various importances of the photosynthesis. Now, how exactly this photosynthesis takes place? Let us now begin with the steps in photosynthesis. There are two steps mainly involved in the photosynthesis. First one is light phase, or it is also called as light reactions, or it is also called as light dependent reactions, or it is also called as Hill's reaction. The scientist Hill firstly observed these reactions and proposed how these reactions take place. Hence, to honor him, steps are also called as Hill's reaction. Another important step in the photosynthesis is dark phase, or it is dark reactions, or it is light independent reactions. And these reactions were discovered by scientist Calvin. So, to honor him, the name is also given by his name, that is Calvin's cycle. What are different processes taking place in the first step? That is, these are light energy is used to break water molecule. Light energy, that is sunlight. The energy which is present in the sunlight is used to break down the water molecule, that is H2O molecule. On the breakdown of water molecule, one H plus ion and one OH minus ion is produced. Then oxygen is released. During light reaction, oxygen is released and ATP is produced. ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. This is the usable form of energy for all the living organisms. NADPH2 molecule is produced, which is a reducing agent, that is called as nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. And when it is reduced, the two hydrogen atoms bind to it to form NADPH2, nicotinamide adenine diphosphate, which is in the reduced form. When it has two hydrogen atoms, this is called as reducing agent. That is, when it binds with another molecule, it donates its hydrogen atoms to another molecule and reduces that molecule. That is, the acceptance of hydrogen atom is called as reduction, and donation of hydrogen atoms is called as oxidation. So, this NADPH2 molecule is reducing agent. That means it will donate its hydrogen molecules to other molecule. So, these are the main steps which are involved in the light phase or light dependent reactions. Light energy is used to break down the water molecule to produce H plus and OH minus ions. Oxygen is released, ATP is produced, and the reducing agent NADPH2 is produced. The next step in the photosynthesis is the dark phase or the dark reactions or light independent reactions, which do not depend on the light, sunlight. Here we have seen that all these things take place in the presence of sunlight. Here we do not require sunlight. So, these are called as dark reactions. What happens during this? During this process, glucose is produced from carbon dioxide. This process also utilizes ATP molecules and NADPH2 molecules. These ATP and NADPH2 molecules are produced during light reaction. These are utilized in dark reactions, and thus by utilization of NADPH2 molecule, the NADP molecules are again produced. That means what we have said here, NADPH2 is reducing agent. It will donate its two hydrogen atoms to another molecule. So what will remain behind is NADP, nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. So this molecule is made available again for the light reactions. The NADP molecule will again go to the light reactions and will again get reduced to NADPH2, again will behave as a reducing agent, During dark reactions, this will again donate its hydrogen atoms to other molecules and will become NADP molecules. Let us now see in details what these light phase or light reactions, light dependent reactions or the Hill's reaction. What is the site for these light reactions? These are the grana. Grana are nothing but the stacked thylakoid membranes in chloroplast which contain chlorophyll pigments. How these reactions take place? First one is the photolysis of water. Lysis is the breakdown. Photo means in presence of light. So breakdown of water molecule in presence of light. We have said that in light reactions the water molecule breaks down to form H plus ions and OH minus ions. For this reaction the light energy is required or energy in the form of light is required. So this step is called as photolysis of water. During this process the molecular oxygen is produced. Molecular oxygen means the gaseous form of oxygen which is released from the leaves in the atmosphere through stomata. Stomata are the openings in the leaves on the lower surface. We have seen those stomata in the transverse section of leaf. Next one is the production of reducing agent. Reducing agent means NADPH2, nicotinamide adenine diphosphate, which is in the reduced form, that is with the 2 hydrogen atoms. That molecule is produced during light reactions. And photophosphorylation. Phosphorylation means addition of phosphate group and photos means in the presence of light. The addition of phosphate group in the presence of light is called as photophosphorylation. Where this phosphate molecule is added? This molecule is added in adenine diphosphate, that is ADP. When in adenine diphosphate, diphosphate means with 2 molecules of phosphate group. When one more molecule of phosphate group is added, it becomes adenine triphosphate, that is ATP. We have said that in light reactions ATP molecules are produced, that is energy rich molecules are produced, and the process of production of these ATP molecules from ADP molecules in the presence of light is called as photophosphorylation. Addition of phosphate group in ADP in the presence of light to produce ATP. Let us now see how these reactions take place. Suppose this is a water molecule, this is a oxygen and these two are the hydrogen atoms, H2O. When the light bombards or light comes on these molecules in photosynthesis site, that is in the chlorophyll molecules, when the water molecule gets energy from the light ray, it breaks down in H plus ions and OH minus ions. H plus ions and OH minus ions are produced in the presence of light energy from water molecule. What is the site for this production? What is the site for this reaction? It is a chlorophyll molecule or chlorophyll pigment in thylakoid membrane in chloroplast. During this process, electrons are produced. During this process, electrons are produced. These electrons now react with OH minus ions and the reaction produces or gives water molecule and oxygen molecule. What we have seen here, during the photolysis of water, that is breakdown of water molecule, one H plus ion and one OH minus ion is produced. During such reactions, electrons are also produced and these electrons and OH minus ions, they react with each other and produce water molecule and oxygen. Here this oxygen is the molecular oxygen or in the gaseous form oxygen. This oxygen is released outside the leaf through stomata. Next, what happens to these H plus ions? These H plus ions then react with NADP, nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. The H plus ions which are produced during the photolysis of water, they react with NADP, nicotinamide adenine diphosphate, to produce NADPH2. NADP molecule binds with 2 hydrogen atoms to form the reducing agent called NADPH2. During all these reactions, ADP molecule binds with another phosphate molecule to form ATP, that is adenine triphosphate. During these reactions, the ADP molecule reacts with the phosphate molecule to produce ATP. So during the light reactions, what are the main products produced? That is NADPH2, the reducing agent, ATP, the high energy molecule, and the gaseous oxygen is also released. Let us now move to the next step of the photosynthesis, that is dark phase or the light independent reactions, that is dark reactions, and these reactions were discovered by Calvin, so it is also called as Calvin cycle. As these reactions are in the cyclic form, that is the material which or the molecule which is used is recycled or it is again made available for the next reactions, so it is a cyclic type of reaction. What is the site for this reaction? It is a stroma. Stroma is the cavity or the lumen in the chloroplast. In the first step, the carboxylation of RUBP, that is ribulose bisphosphate, takes place by Rubisco enzyme. Rubisco is the enzyme which is involved in photosynthesis reaction. It utilizes potassium as a cofactor. So in the presence of potassium as a cofactor, this Rubisco carboxylates the RUBP molecules. Carboxylation means addition of carbon dioxide molecule. RUBP is ribulose bisphosphate. It is one of the carbohydrates with 5 carbon atoms and 2 phosphate molecules. Bisphosphate, bis means 2. Bisphosphate, 2 phosphate molecules. Ribulose is a carbohydrate which has 5 carbon atoms. Thus, this Rubisco reacts with the carbon dioxide in the presence of Rubisco enzyme, and the reaction is called as carboxylation of RUBP. Ribulose bisphosphate is shortly said as RUBP. During this reaction, the production of glucose takes place. This glucose is stored in leaves or other storage organs in the form of starch. Glucose gets converted into starch and it is stored. The glucose is not stored as it is because glucose gets fermented to form alcohol or ethanol, which is harmful for the plants to store in the form of ethanol. So glucose is not stored as it is, but it is converted into starch and it is stored in the storage organs, like in potato. You know, potato tubers have many number of starch grains. So therefore the starch is the storage form of the carbohydrates for the plants. During the carboxylation of RUBP, the glucose is produced. And during all these reactions, the recycling of molecules for next light reactions take place. Which molecules are recycled? These are ADP and NADP. ADP means adenosine diphosphate and NADP is nicotinamide adenine diphosphate. These molecules are made available for the light reactions, and in the light reactions these molecules get phosphorylated and reduced, that is ATP and NADPH2 are produced, which are again used in these dark reactions. Thus this is the cyclic type of reaction. Let us now see how these reactions take place. This is RUBP, ribulose bisphosphate with 5 carbon atoms and 2 phosphate groups. There is an atmospheric carbon dioxide which is absorbed by the leaves through stomata. In the presence of enzyme Rubisco, these 2 molecules bind with the enzyme Rubisco. The RUBP binds with the Rubisco, the molecular carbon dioxide binds with the Rubisco, the reaction takes place and the product is formed, which is called as 3-PGA or 3-phosphoglyceric acid. 3-phosphoglyceric acid. 2 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceric acids are produced during the reaction of 1 RUBP and 1 carbon dioxide in the presence of 1 Rubisco molecule. After many such reactions, many number of 3-PGA molecules are produced. These molecules are then converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The 3-PGA molecule, 3-phosphoglyceric acid, is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. During this reaction, ADP is produced and NADP is also produced. Let us now see this reaction again. What happens when this 3-PGA is being produced? The ATP is converted into ADP and NADPH2 is oxidized to NADP. 3-PGA is converted into G3A, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and ADP is produced, NADP is produced. After this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is recycled back to RUBP. Many such G3A molecules react with each other to produce RUBP molecule. Thus here RUBP molecule is recycled. Rubylose bisphosphate molecule is recycled, that is, it is used during the reaction and it is produced during the reaction. Thus this is a cyclic reaction. Therefore it is also called as Calvin's cycle. During this regeneration of rubylose bisphosphate, glucose molecule is produced. This glucose is a 6-carbon compound which is a rich energy source. This glucose is later on either used directly as an energy source during respiration or it is stored in the form of starch. Thus in Calvin's reaction, rubylose bisphosphate reacts with carbon dioxide in the presence of Rubisco enzyme to produce glucose molecule, and the production of glucose molecule is assisted with the recycling of ADP and NADP. These ADP and NADP molecules are recycled or these are used during light reactions to produce ATP and NADPH2. So here we have seen what is a photosynthesis, what is a site for photosynthesis, what are the steps in photosynthesis, factors affecting rate of photosynthesis, and the importance of photosynthesis process. Now let's solve some questions to make sure that we have understood the chapter. First question is that why autumn leaves are red, yellow or in color and not green? Green color which we see for the leaves is because of chlorophyll pigment. Chlorophyll pigments look green because they do not absorb the green light wavelength, but they absorb red and blue light and reflects green color. So the color which is not absorbed but it is reflect, that color is seen for that pigment. Chlorophyll looks green because they reflect the green color. There are accessory pigments which we have seen as carotenoids and anthocyanins. Carotenoids look yellow or brown in color, anthocyanins they look red or purple in color. The plants prepare themselves for winter season. In temperate regions, the winter is severe. Snowfall is there. That means the water is present only in the form of solid. We have seen that the solid form of water, that is ice form of water, is not available for the plants for any life process. Thus in winter, plants face adverse condition or the desert conditions, desert-like conditions, because though ice is present, this ice cannot be absorbed by the plants. Then we have also seen that leaves have certain openings on the lower side. These are called as stomata. Through stomata, gaseous exchange takes place. As these are openings, through these openings, water will also evaporate from the cells. So there will be loss of water through the stomatas. If water is not available through the soil, plants cannot afford to lose its water content in the form of vapors. So they have to shed their leaves to check the evaporation or the transpiration rate. Thus, you know that the leaves, during leaf senescence, leaves turn yellow and then they fall down. What happens during this? The green colored pigment, that is chlorophyll pigment, they degenerate. These pigment molecules degenerate and what remains behind are the carotenoids and the anthocyanins, which are either red purple or yellow brown in color. So the leaf color turns from green to red yellow color and finally the leaves fall down. That's why autumn leaves are red yellow in color and not the green one. Next question is, what is the source of oxygen released during photosynthesis? We have seen the Hill's reaction, that is light dependent reactions. In that light dependent reaction, we have seen the water molecule breaks in the presence of light. The process is called as photolysis of water. During this photolysis of water, one H plus ion and one OH minus ion is produced. These OH- ions react with the electrons to produce molecular oxygen or the gaseous form of oxygen. So here, what is the source of oxygen? The water molecule. So from the water molecule, oxygen is released during light reactions by the process called photolysis of water. What is the source of carbon during glucose synthesis? We have seen that glucose is a carbohydrate which has 6 carbon atoms. So from where these carbon atoms come? These carbon atoms come from atmospheric carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide enters into the leaves through stomata, which are openings on the lower side of the leaf. The carbon dioxide reacts with ribulose bisphosphate in the presence of enzyme Rubisco to produce 3-PGA, that is 3-phosphoglyceric acid. From this phosphoglyceric acid, G3A, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is produced, and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate when regenerates RUBP, that is ribulose bisphosphate, the glucose molecule is produced. So the glucose is produced during Calvin's reaction or during the dark reactions, which are also called as light independent reactions. This glucose uses carbon from carbon dioxide, which is atmospheric. That is, from atmospheric carbon dioxide, the carbon is used to produce glucose. By which process ATP molecule is formed from ADP. ADP is adenosine diphosphate and ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That means here the addition of phosphate group takes place in ADP to produce ATP. In photosynthesis, this process is helped by the light energy. That means the phosphate group is added in ADP to form ATP in the presence of light. So addition of phosphate is called as phosphorylation. When the energy is made available in the form of light, that is called as photophosphorylation. So the ATP is produced from the ADP by the reaction or by the process called as photophosphorylation. Next question is, among green, red and blue light, which wavelength has maximum energy? We have seen that chlorophylls absorb red and blue light and not the green light. So obviously green light will have least amount of energy. Now among red and blue light, you must be knowing that shorter the wavelength, more the energy. Longer the wavelength, lesser the energy. Wavelength range for the visible light is 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers. The blue light ranges between 300 to 500 nanometers, whereas red light ranges between around 600 to 800 nanometers. So, the blue light has shorter wavelength and red light has longer wavelength. So, therefore, the blue light will have maximum energy, whereas red light will have lesser energy as compared to blue light. But for chlorophyll pigments, the green light will have least amount of energy because chlorophyll pigments are made in such a way that they cannot absorb the energy in the green colored light. So for the photosynthetic pigments, that is chlorophyll, blue light will have maximum energy, red light will have lesser energy as compared to blue light, and green light have the least amount of energy. Today we have seen what is a photosynthesis, what is the site for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place mainly by leaves. Leaves have chloroplast molecules. In chloroplast, thylakoid membranes are stacked one above other, which is called as granum. In granum, chlorophyll molecule is present and these chlorophyll molecules carry out photosynthesis. Rate of photosynthesis depends on various factors. The photosynthesis is quite of important process because it provides food for all the life forms on the earth. It provides oxygen for the respiration of organisms on the earth. It also recycles carbon dioxide. Photosynthesis is the only process on the earth which can convert light energy into the chemical energy, that is ATP. Photosynthesis has mainly two reactions or two steps, that is light dependent reactions or Hill's reaction, and light independent reactions, that is dark reactions, which is also called as Calvin's reaction. In the light dependent reactions, the water molecule is broken down with the help of sunlight and the process is called as photolysis of water. ATP is produced from ADP by the process called as photophosphorylation, and the reducing agent NADPH2 is produced. In dark reactions or Calvin's reactions, the glucose is produced, that is carbohydrates are produced. In dark reactions, the glucose is produced, carbohydrates are produced, and the ADP and NADP molecules are recycled back to light reactions.